We're now going to talk a wee bit about how the eye develops. Now I've got a very basic diagram of the eye in front of me just now. Basically, if you are a qualified teacher of the visually impaired, then you do need to know the ins and outs of how the eye works. However, if you're a teacher working in a mainstream class, and for most purposes, all you need to know is that the eye is divided up into three main parts. So there's the front of the eye, and you'll see in that diagram the iris, the pupil, the lens and the cornea. So we talk about that as the front of the eye. Then there's the back of the eye, the retina, the macular area. And the stalk at the bottom right hand corner of this diagram is the optic nerve, and that is where the eye is joined on to the brain. Now for me, that is the most important part of the eye. It is in fact the eye, the brain that sees. Most children will be able to correct their vision by wearing glasses or by wearing lens. So a child whose whose vision can be corrected if they're wearing glasses, we would not normally term them as having a visual impairment. However, I'm going to go on and talk about that in a wee bit more detail. Let's think about what can go wrong with the eye. There are two main types of visual impairment. We can have ocular impairment or cerebral or cortical visual impairment. I'm going to talk a wee bit about ocular impairment first of all. So usually that will be a loss of visual acuity. Visual acuity means how clearly we are able to see detail at a set distance. And visual field loss is the area that we're actually able to see. Visual impairment is a very, very low incidence impairment. There are approximately 12 children born in the UK, per 1,000 with a significant visual impairment. So that's not very much at all. And we define that as best binocular vision. That's two eyes working together, worse than 6/18 or its equivalent. Nowadays you're likely to hear people talk about logmar rather than Snellen 6/18, but for this video, if you think about the eye chart that you see in your eye surgery, it's roughly halfway down the eye chart. The other type of ocular loss I've mentioned is visual field loss. So that's any eye movement disorder that affects visual function. That's the area that you're able to see. And we'll talk about that when we look at some pictures in a little while. The other type of impairment that you're likely to hear about is cerebral or cortical visual impairment, sometimes known as CVI.